that so many people in this room see and use on a daily basis in terms of Hollywood studios, of course, Max, HGTV, TBS, CNN, Discovery, TNT, the list goes on, TLC, Food Network, Eurosport. Of course, David spearheaded the blockbuster merger between AT&T's Warner Media and Discovery. But as we all know, the streaming world has had its challenges, and Zaslav has had a tough task. He's already paid down about $12 billion in debt. He's got more to go. We'll talk about debt. He started his career as a lawyer. He's led Discovery since 2006, and he is now, dare I say, officially a media titan. I don't know whether he wanted that title or not. This summer, Barbie became Warner Brothers' top-grossing film ever, generating $1.5 billion globally. David, thank you for coming.
Great to see you, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
There's so much to talk about, given all the headlines that we do read about what's happening at Warner. I want to take everybody back, and specifically you in your head, if you could, to May 17th. This is 2021. This is when you were announcing the deal. And what's so interesting about that is that the world was a very different place. The Netflix correction, Reed Hastings was on the stage last year, had not happened. Disney shares, and we're going to talk to Bob Iger later, were at $172 a share. Today they're at almost half. Paramount was at $42 a share. Now it's at $14 a share. When your deal closed, the stock was at 24. Today we're about 10 something, right? So when you think back to that time, do you say to yourself, what do you say to yourself? And do you say that the thesis for all of this was right?
Well, it was about 20 months ago. Very exciting 20 months. But when we took over, our objective was we were going to put together these two great creative companies. And I feel stronger about the assets that we have now than when we did the deal. CNN, sports with TNT around the world, where if you put your TV set on, 30 to 40% of America is watching us any given night. HBO, Max, we're the biggest maker of content in the world with Warner Brothers TV and Warner Brothers Motion Pictures. And so, as a storytelling company, a pure storytelling company, and that's really unusual. Most of the players that we compete with, they might be in the broadband business, the cable business, the retail business, the phone business. We're just a creative storytelling company. And we're so diverse. We're even in games. And so we have this great menu of content. So the magical coming together of these two companies as all this diverse, great storytelling, I think is stronger for us today. The challenge is, when you look at when we took over 20 months ago, we were looking at bringing these two companies together, but the industry was in disruption. And so when we first came together, Warner was spending $35 billion on content. $36 billion is what they were spending. But they were making less than that, and so they were losing money. And the industry was very frothy. Everyone was spending an awful lot on content, and everyone was chasing subs. And so we had a very strong strategic plan that we need to build a healthy company. And here we are 20 months later. The company paid back, as you said, $12 billion in debt. We had to make a lot of very difficult decisions, and we had to move a lot faster than we probably wanted to, because this is a generational disruption, what's going on in our industry now.
Tell me what you feel like about it personally. And the reason I ask you personally is, here you are, you get to the top of the mountain. I said you're now the media titan, but the view at the top of the mountain is not as good as it used to be. I don't know what titan is. These are great seats. And I think this opportunity that we have, and I say this to my team all the time, that we want to be in a moment of disruption. The most formative moment for me was I went to work for Jack Welch to build the cable group. That was a disruptive moment. Instead of just broadcast, was cable going to make it? Was it going to transform the way people consume content? And for 2 or 3 or 4 years, it wasn't working. It was really hard. We had to will it to happen. Then I went to, and in fact, when NBC was sold to Comcast, Jack called me, because there was a lot of people during those 4 years that was saying, this is too hard, it's not going to work. 80% of the value of NBC Universal at that point was cable. And so,
Right now we're at a very hard time that requires hard decisions, and many of them are unpopular. Look, when we got in, we were spending, it was very frothy. We were spending over $1 billion on direct-to-streaming movies. It's very difficult to come in. We looked for a couple of months. What are we getting? Are we gaining subs? Is this creating value? We blew the whistle, and we said, direct-to-streaming movies don't work. There's a whole industry that was making money on that, and it was really hard. We also said that these streaming services need to make money.
Right. Speak to this, though. You are a guy who I think thinks of yourself as somebody who has great relationships. You have a lot of relationships throughout the business. And part of being a creative is having those relationships. That matters. But at the same time, you now have all this debt that you have to service.
Right.
And here you are. And I think that there's almost a battle happening between those two ideas, the creative side of this and the money side of this right now. And I want to know what that's like in your head, because you've had to make decisions that have been very unpopular. You said it. There was a headline that called you the most hated man in Hollywood. And here you are, as I said, at the top of the mountain, and you're reading these articles, and I just wonder what you think about that. Well, personally, yeah. Like when you go home at night and talk to your wife, what do you say?
Yeah. I'm lucky. I met my wife in high school. We've been married for 37 years, and we talk about the kids and the grandkids. And we talk about how lucky we are and how lucky I am. It's not personal. This is a generational disruption. The way people consume content, on what platform, what do they want to watch, long form, short form, are they still going to be going to the movies? It's a very scary time. It's a scary time to be running a company, but it's also an exciting time because everything's possible. But I'm in the seat. I got a great leadership team, and we got a chance to do something when we took over the company. We said, no sacred cows. Let's start today. What does this business look like if we were going to start today? What content do we need? What content is going to help us? How many people do we need? What should HBO look like? What should Warner Brothers look like? And so we were the first ones through. If you saw Moneyball, Billy Beane, first ones through. But the trepidation and the concern in the industry was there already. Everyone felt the transition. And so, we blew the whistle on a lot of the spending. We focused on, we needed a healthy company. This year, we generated $5 billion in free cash flow in the trailing last 12 months. We're a real company now. We needed to get healthy, and we needed to build a real business around this company in order to deal with this, right. The continuing change we're going to see.
So part of what you had to do, or part of the things you did do, and I know there's a debate about whether you had to do them or not, was you killed a lot of projects. Some that had already been made, including Batgirl, which was become a famous headline at this point.
Right.
What was that day like for you? You have to call the creatives. They spend $80, $90 million on this film, spend years of their life doing it. Okay. And you have to say, you know what? We're putting this thing in the can, and nobody's ever going to watch it again. And part of that is this idea of accounting, which we should talk about too, how that accounting works.
Well, first, there are a lot of great days. This is a great job. And the opportunity it's the best creatives in the world in Hollywood. We have an incredible creative team. DC, Harry Potter, HBO. How do we launch Max around the world? We're going to renew the NBA. It's an incredibly exciting job. And there's a lot of great days. There are a lot of tough days. We've had to do, I remember our first big layoff. It was brutal. It was brutal. But Warner Brothers and Time Warner and even Discovery, these are companies that had never really been restructured for the future. And so we really decided that we have to have courage. And we got to figure out how to restructure these businesses for the future. And part of that was, let's take a hard look at Warner Brothers, and not just me, as a leadership team, at HBO, at Food and HG, at TNT, at TBS. What content is going to help us win? And we held on to all the content that we thought would be helpful to us. And the content that wasn't, we made a strategic decision on. And it was difficult. And it was painful. But I think it was the right decision for the company, and it was necessary.
For those who don't understand it, can you explain just how the accounting works? Because there's been a lot of projects that have been taken off the shelf and have been put away and stored forever. And I think people are always trying to understand, why do you do that? Could you sell it to somebody else? Maybe take a loss on it from something else and write that off?
The accounting piece is really a misnomer. If we produce a show that's a movie that's $100 million or a show that's $100 million, we've spent the $100 million. And if we don't air it, then it's gone. We don't make it have any real benefit from it. The question is, should we take certain of these movies and open them in the theater,
right,
and spend another $30 or $40 million to promote them? And the Warner Brothers team and HBO made a number of decisions. They were hard. But when I look at the health of our company today, we needed to make those decisions. And it took real courage. And if you look back now, a lot of the things that we did, it's not about how many subs. When we took over, there was a focus on getting a lot of subs and spending a lot of money. It was very frothy. The capital markets had run away with Netflix as the leader, and the industry was following. And so when we came in, we really had to look at the core business economics. And we have a really strong, healthy company now. And that allows us to invest more and focus on what's really important, which is take Max around the world, produce great content, and tell great stories.
I still want to go back to the relationship thing for just a moment, because you have so many relationships, and I think you value relationships. When you first started at this job, you went to LA, and you tried to meet with as many people. You went on a listening tour.
Right.
I'm so curious, and Barry Diller told you not to go on this listening tour, right? He said this was a terrible
Correct.
idea because you were going to have to make decisions that were going to hurt those creatives.
We made a lot of decisions. First, I didn't agree with Barry, but I agree with Barry about a lot of things. But, my job as a CEO is to get to know the business. That's why I went out and I spoke to everybody that I could about the motion picture business and the scripted business, and what did they learn and what mistakes did they make, and to listen.
Right.
And in the end, I think I got smarter. It was also helpful in building the creative team that we have. And it's important for me. I also went to LA and spent the year inside the green light of the motion pictures at HBO, and really understanding how those businesses put together. Now I have leaders and I can step back, but I think it was very important for me to get out there.
What do you wish someone on that listening tour had told you that they didn't now?
The disruption to this business right now is harder and faster than we ever imagined. And I would think if I could start over, we had this strategic plan, and it really worked. We now have real free cash flow, a good balance sheet. We're investing in strong content. We have a leadership team. But as the first year ended, we really thought we were getting close to the shore, and we were getting there. But this disruption, this idea of people consuming content on TikTok, going to different streaming services, it is a generational disruption, and it required more aggressive, tougher, faster decisions. And if I had to do it again, I would have liked to have been clearer with my team about how hard this is going to be, because it was, and with outside, that we as an industry need to make this change so that we have profitable business models, so that we can invest in more content, more stories.
You told us, I assume Barbie is probably your best day on the job. What was your worst day on the job so far?
The worst day on the job was the first day that we laid off a huge number of people. A lot of people that I knew and worked with for many years, a lot of people I respected. The business had changed. It used to be that you could have 80, 100 people at every cable channel. Now you have one marketing team running all of it. So we had to restructure the entire business. People is the toughest thing.
I thought you might say something about Chris Lift.
Great guy. Talented guy.
I believe Chris is actually here in the room. I don't know where he is. Maybe over there. There he is.
Chris is a good friend. There were a lot of great days. There was a lot of tough days. But Chris has had a lot of great days. He created Morning Joe. He created CBS This Morning. We had a lot of fun and a lot of battles together. And Chris is going to have a lot of great chapters, and hopefully some of those with us at Warner Brothers. Very talented.
Can I ask you about Jeff Zucker?
Sure.
He was one of your best friends in the whole business. not just in business, but in life. And it appears that that relationship fractured.
I wouldn't say it fractured. In the end, I believe that you want to foster friendships, but you have to make the decision that's the best for the business. And if you have a best friend and they have a great script, if the Warner Brothers team don't think that's the best storytelling vehicle that we should go with, right, then you have to put the friendships aside.
How hard is that for you? How hard is that for you in your head? Because that's hard for everybody. By the way, everybody here is trying to figure out who their friends are all the time. Everybody. Who are your friends? Who are your real friends? Who are your business friends? Are the business friends real friends? Yeah. By the way, in Hollywood, it's worse.
Well, I don't know about that. I've been very lucky in life. I still have loads of friends from high school. My wife and I went to school together. I have loads of friends. You and I are close friends. I started CNBC, and all the people that work with you in the morning, Becky and Joe, are still very close friends of mine. You know who your friends are, and you're also friendly with a lot of people. But you can't mix the two. And sometimes when you make a business decision, or sometimes when the business decision is made by your team, your friends can take it personally. They can feel that you should have interceded. And sometimes, it's unfortunate, but it is emotional. It's emotional for me. I'd like to always say yes to my friends. The good news is within our company now, we got a great leadership team. So for me, I'm mostly supporting Casey Bloys at HBO and Channing Dungey at Warner Brothers Television. My job is to coach and support them.
Let me ask you this. The strike. Big labor issue that's been taking place. It's still not over, really. But when it came to the writers, you said this in the New York Times very recently. You said that the writers were right about almost everything. You said, so what if we overpay? I've never regretted overpaying for great talent or great asset. Was it a waste? Was it the wrong decision to go to war with the writers and go to war effectively with the actors?
I think the idea of going on a strike was bad for all of us. And this idea that the industry is changing, that's one of the reasons why we went on strike, why the writers went on strike and why the actors went on strike. Because we needed to battle over issues. If this was years ago, we know exactly how the model for cable and broadcast works. We know exactly what are the economics, and we could see who gets what economics. We're in this new world now. What is the value of Succession or House of the Dragon on HBO? And it's much harder to determine that when you have streaming services losing money. Ours is now making money, but it's an existential moment. What is the impact of AI? So there were a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of trepidation in the industry. Like when you see the lens of people wanting to write a lot about the industry right now, and sometimes they do it through me, through my seat, it's because this is an incredibly interesting time. Everything is possible. With the assets that we have, there's going to be big winners and big losers. But the strike, I believe what I said. When I spoke to Fran and Duncan before, I said, I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
But then we have to figure out AI. Not fought it, though?
And we have to figure out how to compensate on these new models. Because we don't know
Could it have all been done without the strike then?
I wish it could have, and I'm glad that it's behind us now. And it's imperfect. The decisions that we made on each of those there was a lot of uncertainty in it, but we figured out how to make it work together.
What was it like for you personally? Because the other thing that happened during that period was people would look at you and say, you were paid a lot of money. You were paid a lot of money. And you heard this over and over again from the strikers, the writers, the actors were saying, look at this guy. He's getting paid tens of millions of dollars a year, and we're over here. How did you deal with that personally? And how do you even think about that in sort of like cosmic, philosophical perspective about compensation?
My focus was, we need to settle this strike. This is hurting, really hurting people. We got to figure out how to get in a room. Any deal that I've ever done.
Did that hurt you? And me personally,
every day that we were on strike and people weren't working was a bad day for us. But I did fight, and Bob Iger, there was a group of us. We got to get in a room. We need to figure out how to get this settled.
I'm curious about this. This is maybe a corporate governance question. Your compensation actually changed this year, and the board of Warner Brothers Discovery, John Malone, has been advocating, as we said, free cash flow, pay down the debt, pay down the debt, pay down the debt. And they've effectively delinked, to some degree, your compensation from the stock price, per se, and focused it now on how quickly you can create that free cash flow to pay down the debt. Some people look at that and say that's a fabulous decision because it is going to incentivize you to pay down the debt. Others say, well, are you aligned with the shareholders in the same way? Does the board know something that the market doesn't? What do you think about that?
The board went and spoke to investors, and the existential issue for our company was to pay down the debt, get a solid balance sheet, and have a company that generates real free cash flow. If you look around the media business, you have streaming services losing billions of dollars, companies losing money, and the key for us, the artillery that we needed that was existential, we need a healthy company that makes real profitability and real free cash flow. And so they made the decision to create for the entire leadership team an incentive to say, pay that debt down, generate free cash flow. And it worked. The whole leadership team got behind it, and we generated in the last 12 months over $5 billion of free cash flow.
We're going to hear from Lena Khan later today. Everybody's talking about the chessboard that is media, and you are a chess piece on that board. And whether there is ultimately a merger that needs to happen, whether it be with the parent Comcast, I should say parent company of CNBC and NBC, given my relationship there, but also whether you want to buy Paramount, whether Paramount goes over here. Hulu just obviously went to Disney. How do you see this? Do you feel like you have to do a deal in the next year? And by the way, all of a sudden, there's that opportunity to do a merger come this spring, given some of the rules and laws around when your first transaction took place.
We're in a position now to really attack for growth this next year. We fixed our balance sheet. We paid down a lot of our debt. And we have a great creative team in place. And the bouquet of content that we have, the diversity of what we have.
But do you want to? Does that mean you want to be a buyer? Does that mean you're a buyer? Would the market kill you if you bought something right now?
Well, I think we have everything that we need. We just launched News and Sports on Max. We really focused, and it was hard. We focused this year on relaunching a new product, Max, and we're taking it out globally.
But if somebody came to you and said they want to buy you, by the way, Barry Diller also said maybe it's not a traditional media company or even a tech company. He said maybe it's the Saudis. And he said, don't laugh.
Look, every public company technically is for sale. From our perspective, we're positioned now. Next year for us is for growth. It's to invest in more content. It's to grow Max around the world. It's to build the profitability of Max. And it's to position this company in this difficult time so that we have options. Options of spending more money on content, which we're looking at doing, to invest in more of our businesses. And over time, if there are other assets that we need. But I think we have everything that we need right now.
I want to talk about sports, and then I want to open up for questions. I see Matt Blank, former president of Showtime, and so many others in the media business. You're sitting with Mr. Moscow, formerly of Sony, as well. Sports, NBA, the rights are coming up. How critical is it to the affiliate fees in your business? Meaning, if you don't get the NBA, how much do you worry that the cable operators are going to say, you know what, David? These are very nice assets. We like having them. We just don't like to pay for them the way we used to.
Look, I love the sports business. 10 years ago, we went to Europe and we bought Eurosport, and then we rolled up most of the sport in Europe. We have the Olympics. It's been very helpful to us in building our European business. And you look at our sport portfolio now in Europe and Latin America, it's very strong, mostly football, but we also have the Olympics and tennis and cycling in Europe. And it's been very helpful in growing our business because in the world of when people could watch anything, the sport has become really compelling. In the U.S., we're very strong. We have March Madness. We also have hockey. We have baseball.
So you don't need the NBA? Is that what you're trying to say?
We like the NBA.
Okay.
But one of the issues with sports is when it comes to CNN, we own CNN. When it comes to DC and Harry Potter and HBO, we own all that. When it comes to all the shows that we produce, Abbott Elementary and Ted Lasso, we own all that. The only product that we rent at Warner Brothers Discovery is sports. And when you rent a product, it's always harder. Because if we do something great with Lord of the Rings, it belongs to us.
Right.
When we do something great with sport, we get to enjoy it and benefit from it until the deal is up.
Right.
And then when the deal is up, you get new rent. And so we're talking to Adam now. We've had a 40-year relationship.
Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA.
With the NBA. We have Shaq and Barkley. We got a great, pregame and postgame. In the end, it has to make economic sense. And one of the reasons that we launched it on Max is we need to find a bridge forward.
Final question from me, and then I think we're going to have to wrap it up, which is about CNN. Mark Thompson is now the CEO of CNN, formerly the CEO of the New York Times. As we said, Chris Licht used to be the CEO, and he's here.
Exceptional leader. Ground-up leader. Great track record. He ran the BBC for 8 years. He turned around the Times. And he got into CNN, which I think is the greatest journalistic organization in the world. And he's there in the morning. He's on the 9 o'clock call. He's in the control room. And he's won the hearts and minds of the team.
Are you still?
And CNN is.
But do you feel like you have to change the tone? Still trying to change the tone of CNN. Part of this all of the agita inside CNN stemmed from some of the early comments that John Malone made about needing to change what it was. By the way, some of the comments that you probably made, and some of the comments that Chris probably made about what directionally CNN was supposed to look like.
I think it was driven by the strategic question of, should news networks be advocacy networks, or should news networks be journalistic organizations?
And do you think that's changed?
And it's really a strategic choice. It isn't good or bad. For CNN, the choice was this should be the greatest. It is the greatest journalistic organization in the world, and you're seeing it today. When a couple of weeks ago, when the tanks started rolling on Moscow, there was one network everywhere in the world carrying that. And it was on in every prime minister's office, in every embassy, everywhere in the world. Others were at a desk. We had 60 people on the ground. Right now we are documenting history. Mark Thompson and that incredible leadership team, they're in Ukraine, they're in Israel, they're in Gaza, they're risking their lives. This is a legacy asset for Warner Brothers Discovery. It's critically important to us. As a country, it's important to us as we struggle with these world issues that we document what's going on in the world. And we're doing it at CNN with the very best journalists. Mark Thompson's doing a terrific job. It's not just that the ratings are up. It's not just that prime time is up. It's that when people want to know from a trusted source what's going on in the world, CNN is back.
Okay. David Zaslav, I want to thank you for joining us today. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So, today we're live in the field with Overwatch Classic, a blast from the past event everyone's been waiting for because the game is finally good. Hey, can you wrap this up? We gotta move. Marvel Rivals is out, and really, I don't think anyone wants to feel bad about this anymore. They're just gonna keep playing it if they're addicted, but let's go have some fun instead of kicking the dead horse, yeah? Fine, you're right. Let me just go pack up my stuff. What's one more? So, today, we're live in the field of Marvel Rivals in its fully released glory. And before we get into the thick layers of glaze I'm about to spew all over this game, I just want to set the record straight. Again, I am not paid to talk about this game. I haven't laundered money for this game. I don't even have money in my bank account. Please subscribe. And most certainly, I didn't see the multiple emails NetEase sent me inviting me to try out the new heroes early all the way back in August. JD's entitlement of the court. If I was a shill, do you really think I'd be making the videos I'm making? Come on. And that's what brings us here today on launch day, because this ruggedly handsome reporter has some hard-hitting questions to ask, like, is this launch a success? Is this the Overwatch killer? Does Squirrel Girl have nuts? Is Marvel Rivals a clone? Is Wolverine the best character in the game? How greedy is the monetization? Will this game be a Helldivers 2 or X Defiant? And above everything else, is Marvel Rivals good? Yeah, it's really good. Well, after playing 15 of the last 36 hours since this game is launched, yes, I am handling the breakup great. I can say on some pretty good authority, this has been one of the best launches for a multiplayer game ever. First of all, in just the first few hours, 400,000 people were playing this game on PC alone, and with the game being cross-platform, we're easily sitting at 1 million right now. But the craziest part of that is nothing is really broken. Outside of not being able to buy stuff in the shop the first hour, which, was difficult for me. I just purchased this, so I isn't in my fucking account.
Relax, pal. It ain't going anywhere.
I'm not getting out of this fucking chair until I own Wolverine's skin. You understand me? I bought the 50. I bought the 50 pack. Okay, cool. Thank you.
5,000. Wait, what?
Oh, perfect. All right, cool. And he's so short like me. But the servers, by and large, have been great. I will say on PC, performance has been kind of rough at moments, but the fact that I have not had to wait in a queue to log in, had a single lobby issue, or any connection whatsoever, while this game is so flooded that if you sneeze on the play button, you'll get put into a lobby immediately, feels like witchcraft. The playtests paid off. As far as a launch day experience goes, when the only issue in your free-to-play game is that people can't spend money, yeah, I'd say that was a pretty good launch day. But who cares about that nerd stuff? How is the game, the characters, the balancing? Is Jeff okay? Where is Squirrel Girl? Jesus Christ, what are you, man? Going nuts? To put it as simply as possible, this game is creative, passionate, respects you, and is just overflowing with aura. First of all, every single character just fucks. I'm talking literally, I'm talking figuratively, and I'm talking literally again because they knew they needed the gooter bait too. Every character in this game is phenomenal. Doesn't matter if you're playing Spider-Man, Magic, Mantis, Star-Lord, Moon Knight, or even you, Iron Fist. Every single character in Marvel Rivals is made to be strong and effective, regardless of their popularity, and I can't tell you how refreshing that is. It feels like every multiplayer game today is hyper obsessed with esports. The only way to do well is play with this gun or this character with these attachments, but psych, that was last week because they just put out an update to change that, because the meta needs to change every single week for God knows why, until everyone's just fighting with pool noodles arguing which one's harder. It's stupid, it's a race to the bottom, and Marvel Rivals says fuck that and let's have some fun. Venom and Spider-Man can both move at Mach 6. The Winter Soldier's ult can do this.
What am I looking at?
Hella can turn into an AC-130. Iron Man brings the boom. Moon Knight's literally the throw random shit meme because 6 abilities make sense. Venom's a goddamn cake factory. Wolverine just doesn't die, and Jeff the Shark, he can eat the whole enemy team and just jump off the map like Kirby in Smash. Would this be put in any other game? No, but it's here in Marvel Rivals because, they want you to have fun. And of course, games should have a competitive scene. I mean, guys, again, I was in esports and I love them. Games are inherently about winners and losers and trying not to be the latter. But what Marvel Rivals understands is that doesn't mean you can't have fun along the way. This game was made with the express philosophy that in a hero shooter, regardless of who you're playing, you should feel like a hero. Yeah, there are classes like tank, DPS support, which, please, we just need one support on every team, guys. I know it's difficult to understand, but if they're getting health and we're not, we're gonna lose. So please, for the love of God, switch off of Iron Man. You're 0-5, please. The reason this game doesn't have a role queue, despite having multiple cash prize tournaments, an entire competitive season in the playtest, is because all of these characters and abilities are so dynamic and impactful, you could really just win a game with whoever. I have never related to a criminal in New York City before, but now that I have been the victim of Spider-Man, yeah, no, I completely get why everyone hates this guy. He's a menace. It's in that way that this game reminds me of Smash Bros, where nearly every character has a win rate of 50%, while also has an incredibly viable competitive scene. This is how you do multiplayer balancing in your characters, which is awesome because all of these characters' personalities just shine through their kits anyways. Playing as Wolverine is like being a feral paper shredder who could fly. Sorry, Wanda. Captain America is like the best tank I've ever played in a video game ever. He can sprint around, throw his shield, block damage, and I don't know, dick on Iron Man. Jeff the Shark is literally just happy to be there from his animations and voice lines alone. I genuinely feel bad for killing him.
I'm good.
Oh my god, what have I done? All the while, Iron Fist feels like his movement and attacks were just taken from a 2D fighting game. You see that Iron Man over there? Yeah, I could go get him.
Almost bowed out.
And that's the coolest part about Marvel Rivals' characters. They're not limited by the hero shooter genre at all. Magic plays way closer to a hack and slash DMC Kratos-y character than anything close to a shooter. Her base slashes have combos, but then you hit shift and you can teleport away with the option to do a huge swing or place a demon down to attack the enemy, only to then be able to lunge forward, hit the enemy in the air, and combo them even further. And even Hawkeye, a character you would think would be one-to-one to Hanzo, ended up surprising me the most with one of the most creative kits I've ever seen. First of all, having trick arrows you could switch to at any moment is just hilarious. If an enemy gets too close to you or you want to boop them to their death, you can. Obviously, if your aim is good, you can be a complete monster with this guy, but it's the solution they've done with his ultimate that has me excited for every hero in this game and the new ones moving forward. When he hits his ult, the enemy teammates leave little after images behind of where they move, and if you shoot those, it does damage to the player they belong to, as if he's just perceiving the world faster than everybody else, effectively simulating slow time, all without slowing down anybody else. It's an ultimate ability that's not only true to the character.
Hey, Brad, on your left.
When you're playing Marvel Rivals, you are playing those characters and feel like them. Look, it's corny, but the dopamine I get from somebody going, "Hey, Spidey," when they need help from me is just insane. I smile like an idiot every time, but I genuinely think Neon thinks he's Captain America.
God, Brad, on your left.
Shut up! It's just sick, and I was shocked how much the love for these characters doesn't just stop at the gameplay. As I was going through the character menus, I noticed this really awesome detail where the characters have their own signature written next to their name, which on its own is like, all right, cool, whatever. Until I realized that they're so character specific. Groot can't write, so he just puts a smile. Moon Knight puts all 3 of his identities on there because that dude's head is just all sorts of fucked up. Both Hela and Thor's names are written in Asgardian. Jeff just put his paw prints, which is adorable. In Spider-Man might be stupid. Even the achievements are based off of stuff with the characters, like Wanda having a kill all mutants achievement, or, you know, making this Moon Knight meme canon. These details aren't just fun and a little cute. It shows that NetEase doesn't just care about these superheroes, but they want to pay homage to them, care for them, and well, that's just a really infectious, fun environment to be in. Especially when the monetization and art style are just this good. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, the boom! Oh, shut the fuck up! This game is how you price a free-to-play game. No locked heroes, just cosmetics, and a battle pass that if you buy, lasts forever. And oh yeah, since this is season 0, the battle pass is $5, not 10. Deep Rock Galactic, I can't thank you enough for your influence, man. Rockin' Stone for life. The very fact that this game has 33 characters on launch and everyone I know has at least 20 characters in mind they want added to the game is already insane in itself, but the well they can pull from for skins for each individual character is actually asinine. This game is gonna make $1 billion off Spider-Man and Wolverine skins alone because this skin is perfect and I can drop down as all 3 Spider-Man or be Bagman? Are you kidding me? Now, I will say this isn't a perfect system. The only way you progress in the Battle Pass is doing daily and weekly challenges, and since progress in Battle Pass is unlocked with this purple currency you also unlock stuff with, they have it that your balance of those resets every season, which part of me gets because they don't want you stockpiling a bunch of coins and getting the whole battle pass for free, but at the same time, if those are my coins and I earn them, why are you taking them away from me and what's the big deal? I do think this system is more fair than it sounds. You can still do all of these challenges in the bot lobbies, which is sick, and it's a free-to-play banger game with free-to-play heroes. There is going to be a catch in the form of a grind somewhere. This was a conversation in the playtest, and they added more XP to the challenges, so I don't know. We'll see how I feel about this in like a week or two, but back to the shop. The very fact this game is third person so you can actually see your purchase too is a huge bonus, but the art style itself just lets them do so much cool stuff. I am so tired of photorealistic graphics, and this game just proves we don't need them. They don't work. It didn't work for Concord. It most definitely didn't work for the Avengers. One looks like cosplay, the other one's a work of art, and it just makes everything work so much better. The fact that your MVP screen can be your favorite scene that character's in or reference an iconic comic book moment is so sick, and the art style just elevates that completely. There's a reason Overwatch went for a Pixar look, and all right, we said the word. The Reinhardt-shaped elephant is in the room. Let's talk about it. Is this game an Overwatch clone? No. Look, I understand Overwatch has been the top dog in the hero shooter genre for almost 8 years now, and it's easy to forget this game's history and inspirations, and it's very easy for other people to say, oh no, well, Overwatch 2 ripped off TF2. Guys, you're both being stupid because games more than any other genre are inherently iterative. That's how this whole industry works. Yes, some characters on the Marvel Rival roster 100% take inspiration from Overwatch archetypes, characters, and kits. But surprise, surprise, almost every single character on the Overwatch roster is inspired by characters from a bunch of other games. And that's fine. That's how games work. It's where the phrase steal like an artist comes from. I am a Martin Pants, Nakey Jakey, Funhouse, Dragon Ball Bridge knockoff with some of the shoddy cast music choices. But because I took those things and put them into a new thing, this channel, hopefully, feels like a breath of fresh air on the platform, and so does Marvel Rivals. Yes, this game is a hero shooter where you either capture a point or push a cart, but the similarities stop there. The game is third person. There's a focus on melee combat. Everything is faster. There's practically no one-shots outside of ults, and frankly, This game is just building off the mistakes it saw Overwatch made, and honestly, after coming off 2 weeks of Overwatch Classic before filming this, yeah, that was actually a scrapped video at the beginning. I also completely get this sentiment that it feels like a ripoff, because this game just feels like more of a sequel to Overwatch than Overwatch 2 ever was. In playing Overwatch Classic, I was reminded of how chaotic and sporadic and powerful you felt in the early days of Overwatch. It was a complete clusterfuck. Hanzo could one-shot tanks, there was no role queue. They were dropping character trailers every other week. It was a game about having fun, getting in the chaos, finding strategies, and being excited to be these characters. And all Overwatch Classic did was remind me how far away they've gotten from that vision. All while Marvel Rivals is just building on top of it. To be honest, Marvel Rivals is the sequel Overwatch deserved. This is a game that released polished, fun, and respects not only the characters it's using, but the gamers who play it, and I can't say how refreshing that is. I don't know if this game will last, if the balancing will get crazy, or they do some random fumble like Helldivers did, but what I do know is that right now, at this very moment, it is phenomenal, and I don't think you can really ask for more than that. If 2024 has been anything, it's been a year for games like Marvel Rivals. Games with no bullshit, no squeeze, clear communication, no cut corners, and above everything else, just being a place for the homies to have fun, because people like playing good games. Huh, who would have thought? Man, it's crazy. We went an entire video without mentioning Halo. No.
Leave me alone!
Marvel Rivals isn't a clone of Overwatch. In fact, it feels like a real Overwatch 2. Kinda.
I'm better! I am better!
So I'm in the alpha for Marvel Rivals, and with 7 hours under my belt now, I'm ready to put in another 8 after I'm done with this video, because for those of you that don't know, Marvel made a 6v6 hero shooter, and this might be the best thing Marvel's done since Endgame. I am not kidding. Now, I know what you're thinking right off the bat. Brad, isn't this just discount Overwatch? There's no way a game like this could possibly take on Blizzard and actually... Wait, what did you just do? Oh, yeah, there's destructible environments. Oh, that's pretty... Is that Spider-Man? Oh yeah, he's like a Genji on crack. His web swinging's pretty good, and it feels like they ripped him out of the Insomniac games. I mean, it's literally Yuri, and yeah, he's pretty tough to learn, but dude, he's so fun. What is that? Oh, Doctor Strange? Yeah, imagine if Reinhardt could fly and had a portal gun, and don't even get me started on Star-Lord, because this guy is so cool. The game even has a built-in theater mode. Oh, also, do you want to join my faction? We're gearing up for the tournament mode, and, well, there's a cash prize for it, and they're adding comp tomorrow, so we can all gear up and kind of train for it, and, oh, by the way, it's 6v6. Oh my god, it's more of a sequel to Overwatch than Overwatch 2 is. Yeah, that's what I said. Do you have a code? No one hates Overwatch more than Overwatch players. Please help me. For an alpha build, Marvel Rivals is taking some pretty big swings. Made by NetEase Games, Blizzard's best friend turned enemy turned friend again, whose portfolio consists only of mobile games. We'll get to it. I went into this alpha skeptical, because if you Google NetEase Games, their reputation is, well, they make mobile games, but as soon as the game launched, I realized I was in for a treat. Right off the bat, this game's quality is crazy. When you see a menu like this, where the characters pop out, have demo abilities, difficulty rankings, show their synergies, and oh yeah, recommend strategies and combos for how to use them, it's pretty clear to me that NetEase Games knows what they're doing. You see, this game already answers a problem Overwatch has. Learning curve. As someone who got into Overwatch pretty late into the game, I remember being completely overwhelmed by this screen. I mean, the sheer volume of characters alone is intimidating, not to mention what average Overwatch gameplay looks like. Rivals is showing that it's not only looking to attract experienced players, because some of these characters are absolutely cracked, but also wants to be an on-ramp for people Overwatch in its 10 years of characters, metas, rosters, and experience have left behind. I'm not going to Overwatch University. I'm sorry. Getting into my first game, what struck me the most were the character designs. Star-Lord hasn't looked this good in a game since, ever. And oddly enough, all of the base character designs are just really good, except for Magneto, who's oddly not purple. I don't have a favorite color or anything. It's fine, but like he's not purple.
Be wary.
Was that Obi-Wan? Like most hero shooters, the characters are broken up in 3 classes. A tanky boyo for us meatheads, DPS characters for ADH kids and annoying people, and healers for all your bisexual friends to fawn over. Equality. To give you an example of how fun the kits are, I mean, just look at Star-Lord. I ended up picking him first because this guy Frame1 picked Spider-Man, and honestly, I'm glad he did because Star-Lord goes crazy. I've seen a lot of people immediately compare him to Tracer because, oh my god, 2 guns and he moves around fast, but guys, he's not Tracer. He's if Soldier 76, High Noon, and Amazon Alexa had a baby because, he's so chill to play. He's armed with laser-like submachine guns. His left shift lets him fly around for a few seconds. Right click does this sick dodge and reload thing. His E is, Reaper ult, and his actual ult is aimbot. Oh my god, and surprisingly, Every character in this game is kind of built like this, and, well, it makes sense because they get to learn from all of Overwatch's mistakes and start fresh.
I think I struck the mother lode. Those...
Nothing to worry about, just using the scope.
See, another problem that Overwatch has aside from just general hero bloat is that a lot of the characters they've added do not work in their classes now. Support heroes like Kiriko or Moira that either do a huge amounts of damage if you have high skill or, you know, just play the game for you don't really belong in a bisexual support category. Because what's the point of DPS if the person who can heal does more damage? And Rivals recognizes this with its kits, and those playstyles are fun to play, but make sure to keep them in the right spots. In fact, this game doesn't just borrow from Overwatch, it borrows from a lot of games, iterating on gaming's best character skills, mixing and matching them, and then using them in some really interesting ways like we saw in Star-Lord. Spider-Man is like if Doomfist had to rely on his speed and agility instead of his block to stay alive, and I'm kind of scared what Genji players will do with him because, well, you get jumped by him already, he's a menace. No, he definitely says fucking.
Oh my god, you're dead. That happened.
The Hulk is a diva-like character that starts out as a Twinkie banner, and then you hit Q and experience Twink Death. He's got a rechargeable jump, ranged clap attacks, a stun, and he gives shields to your teammate. The Punisher is the classic I can't believe it's not Call of Duty character, and despite being built like a meatball, this guy can move. They gave him the really fun twist of having Pathfinder's grapple from Apex, Valorant's smokes, and Salvador's ult from Borderlands 2, and Groot's playing Fortnite.
On a show!
I'm not kidding. And I can already hear the chatter about how this game is stealing from Overwatch, but here's the thing, guys. They're actually breaking the mold, because Doctor Strange is one of the coolest characters in this game for one ability alone. Portal. Two portals. You can put down 2 portals. Not only does this ability completely change how you approach attacking and defending points in game modes like Hardpoint, Cart Push, or Tug of War, because suddenly a whole team can come from anywhere, but they're Portal 2 portals. You can shoot through them. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Creativity we're gonna see from people using these for lineups and angles alone is going to be insane, let alone strategy and moving around the map. And again, it shows that NetEase is not only just borrowing the formula from Overwatch, but is willing to mess with it and take risks. I mean, the game isn't even first person for a reason. FPS games are great for shooting. I mean, first-person shooter, it's in the name, but one thing that first-person perspective games have always struggled with is melee. From Skyrim's combat to Genji from Overwatch and, well, Dying Light where it actually works pretty good. First-person melee combat is really hard to get right. When you're approaching characters like Spider-Man, Magic, Hulk, and Black Panther, if you went first person, you'd have to compromise a huge amount of what makes those characters special to work as an FPS. Can you imagine a first-person Spider-Man game? Oh, I'm gonna be sick. To put it simply, the third-person angle was something I was really skeptical of, but for what this game's trying to do, it actually works pretty well. There are moments where Spider-Man genuinely looks and feels like he was ripped out of the Insomniac games. Magic plays like a Devil May Cry character, and the Hulk feels like he's in an open-world PS2 game, and when you put these really fun melee characters in an already chaotic formula, it just works. And again, it kind of blows my mind how well this playtest is going. I mean, it feels less of an experiment and more of a warning shot to Overwatch. Because it is. These two have deep beef, but we're gonna make a long story short. NetEase is one of China's biggest game devs and publishers, and from 2008 to 2002 was Blizzard's BFF. In fact, they were such good friends that they were actually the ones distributing Blizzard's games into China. But in 2022, things went sour when the two had a huge falling out for, yeah, you guessed it, greed. You see, Blizzard's old CEO and human greed monster, Bobby Kotick, allegedly wanted 5 years advance pay for their deal, which NetEase said, what? And then a few lawsuits later, Blizzard's out of China. And NetEase is pissed, like statuing up a giant World of Warcraft statue. Pissed. And while these two made up last month since, you know, Xbox is just going around buying and closing every studio they can get their hands on,
I like money.
Bobby got his $375 million to fuck off, and that was it. We're partners again, right? But it's when I look over this chain of events that I can't help but speculate, and well, we love our gossip here. Guys, I think this game might just be out to prove something and might be a middle finger in Blizzard's direction. While Overwatch has become a shadow of itself, canceling promised features, collaborating with Porsche and K-pop bands, which a banger song, but Marvel Rivals is laying the foundation for something great. I mean, what kind of alpha launches with a working theater mode? Clash of Clans faction systems apply to mine today. Competitive mode on day 2, a feature where everyone gets play of the game at the end of the round if you click on their name, and a story that's already progressed more than Overwatch's story has in the past 8 years. they're still on this, and part of me, maybe naively, thinks that the game being this good gameplay-wise off the bat can start to wake up the giant. These guys have history, right? Like, come on, do something, get up. Guys, I didn't make that thumbnail for no reason or for clickbait. We want Blizzard to sweat and try to do better. We could get 2 cakes. I think with Marvel Rivals, a lot of people were really stressed out about that first word, which honestly, I don't really get because, yeah, Marvel's Avengers sucked, but even I can recognize that Guardians and Midnight Sun are pretty good. In fact, I'm surprised people aren't worried about NetEase because, again, if you Google them, there's some red flags. You see this, guys? I learned from multiverses. I'm a growing boy. I wouldn't call them a Chinese EA because that literally exists, but look, they're a super corporation. They abandon games. They help make Diablo immortal. They make gacha games. They made Diablo immortal.
Do you guys not have phones? Yeah.
This is their first real swing at a quote-unquote real game, and yet I'm kind of optimistic. I mean, I feel like this is kind of a good matchup. With Marvel and its massive well of characters to dig into tied to a game like this, it really plays to its strengths. For a hero shooter, that logo is a blessing. It's the it factor. No one's gonna care about Paladins, even if it has better gameplay than Overwatch because, well, people are attached to and love these characters. Wooden is one of my favorite types of brain rot. It's high noon is iconic even today, and Shell Bebop is practically a brand of his own on TikTok. You can't just start from zero with a hero shooter or any character-based game today because, well, the love is already there. And what IP has been more dominant in pop culture in the last decade than Marvel? Spider-Man alone is going to get people to flock to this game. He's the biggest superhero ever. And then add in other icons like Iron Man, Hulk, Groot. And that's just the stuff that's in the game now. It's that Guess Who game of who's next that keeps these games alive and really offers some of the best marketing that exists in games. I mean, Multiverses has been gone for a year, lost all of the faith in its fans, and somehow the Mark Hamill Joker is reviving this thing. Motherfuckers, I'm still not over this. You guys are getting excited over this slop? I'm sorry, I'm getting upset. I can't do it again. I can't do it again. Marvel just has such a pool of characters to draw from. I mean, imagine it's Deadpool, Wolverine, Ant-Man, Daredevil, that one guy in all of the Spider-Man movies, or cool comic book characters like Squirrel Girl or Jeff the motherfucking Shark. Literally anything is fair game here, and that's where NetEase comes into the partnership. I mean, monetizing in a game like this is pretty good and pretty harmless, all things considered. It's like I said in live service sucks. If the game's good, free, and, well, the purchases are optional, everybody eats. Spider-Punk's already in the game, World Hulk is already in the game, and it's in third person so you can actually see them. Oh my god! And I'm gonna get real here. The game's not perfect. It's a little stuttery at times, and the balancing needs work because Wanda can do, oh, it's Wanda from WandaVision! She's solo ulting me! That, and, what happened? This should probably get nerfed just a little bit, but the way I view it, damage tweaks are way more fixable than an inherently broken game, and, well, if they wanted to do the money squeeze, why did they keep microtransactions out of this? I mean, they could have pulled a multiverses and started selling a founder pack from the start, right, guys? Obviously, at the end of the day, it's a free-to-play live service game, and it's gonna need to make money. It's an alpha right now, it's really early to say how things are gonna go, but I gotta say, they didn't need to make the battle pass free, include premium currency, not allow in-game purchases yet, and then make a heater of a game on top of all of that. Each character design shows so much care and love, and this game was made by people who are fans of Marvel and hero shooters. It's in details like these pop-out animations in the main menu that show such effort on something that, well, it could have just been a highlight, but they took their time with it, and that's a really good sign. This game doesn't feel like a cash grab aesthetic change of Overwatch. No, that's Overwatch 2.
What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, Blizzard has finally given in. At last, they have admitted that Overwatch 2 was just one big silly mistake. Or at least that is the implication we can draw, because they recently announced in a blog post that they were opening up the conversation on 5v5 and 6v6. Now, the fact that they are even considering returning to the old format from Overwatch 1 is a clear indication to me that this was not the right creative direction for Overwatch 2. It hasn't fulfilled its intended purpose for the developers or the fans. In other words, It's kind of like WoW Classic, right?
You don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
Yep, you guys are right. We fucked up our game again, and so we're just gonna go back to the thing that you liked and resell you that. Isn't it funny to think about this? Like, they spent all this time and effort adjusting the balance, mechanics, abilities, team compositions, and every facet of Overwatch to make it fit with 5v5. And now they have to undo all of that work. I might be the first to coin this term, but it's like they have to undevelop the game. This is undevelopment, where you screw up the game so bad you effectively have to roll back like years worth of development. So today we're going to dive into this blog post and discuss the rise of Overwatch and how one of the most innovative games of the last decade wound up getting a pointless sequel.
Are you with me?
No. But before we jump into it, fun fact, did you know every video game with craft in the title is a fucking banger? This is even more true with the sponsor of today's video, StarCraft. Now first off, why the sudden decision to start shifting back to 6v6? While the hero shooter genre is seeing a bit of a resurgence with Marvel Rivals. You should check out my video on that. The game's fucking incredible, highly recommend. Also put a link in the description and pinned comment. Also come join my public Discord server, the Act Clan, it's awesome in there. But there's also Sony's Concord coming out in a few weeks. Valve is working on their own hero shooter which got leaked, I think what, a few months ago? So there's mounting competition and pressure, and perhaps Blizzard was faced with a decision to preemptively adapt Overwatch for when these new hero shooters come out. It just so happens that Marvel Rivals started its closed beta period one day after Blizzard made this announcement, so it could very well be a coincidence, but as one trained in the Force.
You know that true coincidences are rare.
Now, I'm certainly one of many who jumped ship or lost interest in Overwatch after 2 came out, and I've been looking for something to fill that void, and I think it's for the same reason people are willing to deal with the bullshit of Battlestate Games and Escape from Tarkov.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
That they're sticking with Overwatch. I'll bet thousands of gamers find themselves dealing with Overwatch 2 simply because nothing else on the market feels quite like it. And if you want something that fulfills that old Overwatch vibe, Marvel Rivals it's looking pretty good. But with these new hero shooters coming out, there might be some actual competition, you know? And it's alluring. The idea of going back in time when Overwatch was king, at its peak, when everyone loved it. I've recently been watching some of their old cinematics, and my god, you're just transported to a different time. When Blizzard was still a pretty good company. How the times change.
You think you honor your brother Genji with incense and offerings? Honor resides in one's actions. You dare to lecture me about honor? You are not worthy to say his name!
And that's the thing, it's hard to look back on these cinematics because none of this ever panned out in the actual game. A PvE story mode was the most requested feature for so many years, and after like 2 years of marketing, Blizzard abandoned that.
Time to abandon ship.
They showed us that they didn't care about this story, and so neither should we. But I want to take a quick crash course into what went wrong with Overwatch 2. Now, this part of the video could be 30 minutes, but we're gonna keep it short. Around 2019, we started seeing fewer updates to Overwatch 1 because Blizzard was focusing on a sequel. So for a couple years, fans were starved for new content. But when Overwatch 2 was announced, hype was at its peak. Kind of, but because of the expansive talent trees, all these new abilities, a focus on story, and most importantly, this highly anticipated PvE mode, fans were somewhat skeptical when it was revealed the game would shift to 5v5 instead of 6v6, and especially that Overwatch 2 would replace the base game. So if it wasn't an objective improvement in